Hi and welcome. I'm Dr. Paula King, and we're here today to talk about strategies for lasting change. How many of you have tried to change something in your life and found that it was difficult to do? You might be able to do it for a short time, but continuing to keep it up becomes a problem. And I saw hands being raised. What were some of the things that you attempted to change in your life? Anybody willing to share something about change? And the way I want to introduce lasting change is to begin with an exercise. So if you're watching this or listening to this from a remote position, then this is a time to pause and get a piece of paper and a pencil so that you can join in the exercise. So for you all that are here, take out your, it means to alter something you're currently doing. So change requires us to do two things, doesn't it? It requires us to let go of something, and it requires us to take on something else. So change requires us to go through a process of letting go and taking on. To create lasting change in your life is learning how to give yourself permission to have more experiences like this first signature was being asked of you. To give yourself an opportunity to have firsts in your life. How many times do you give yourself first? Do you know what I mean by a first? Something that you've never done before. Permission to try things that you've never tried. And the more that you open yourself up to that, the more flexible you become in general. You know, if you're really keeping yourself in a little box and you don't allow yourself to try new things, then you're not as open and as flexible in your thinking. Opening yourself up to an engaging wonder again in your life. You know? And that often, but we're also really attempting to create something that's in our mind's eye. We have an idea or a notion or an image or a belief about where it is we want to get to. So that's what that second signature represents. And it's at this point too where many times in the process of creating change, and certainly lasting change, that we get stuck. So what are the two major reasons that people... The other way that we can get ourselves into trouble in terms of starting a change, which is what we're talking about here, choosing a model or beginning a change, is how we approach the letting go and the taking on. Because change always requires us to let go of something and take something else on. So if you're approaching change in your life by saying, you know, I really have to do this, I really should do this, I really gotta do this, I really ought to do this. Any of those words, should, have to, oughta, gotta, any of those words will create resistance within you. That fast. Remind yourself of that. Anytime you catch yourself saying, well, this just doesn't feel right, I don't feel good in this, I don't like how I feel, remind yourself, I heard that that's always going to be true and that they will catch up. Okay? The third signature, finding that ideal model, knowing what it is that you value and what that looks like, and practicing it over and over again, choosing it, claiming it, actively, consciously. That third step is conscious competence. It means that it requires us to make a choice, a conscious choice, to think differently and behave differently. Chosen change cannot happen unless we make a conscious choice.